So Brendan, sorry, Brendan, I'll start off with your name wrong just from the get-go. So before we get to the Chippo origin story and your golf origin story, I need to give you my Chippo origin story.
Okay.
So in 2017, I was introduced to Chippo. It was like my first kind of, I haven't been playing golf for that long. I've been playing since 2011 or ish or so. And so it was like my first kind of guys golf trip, and we went up to Michigan. A bunch of us drove to Michigan and stayed up there for a few days. And a buddy of mine, one of the guys that actually kind of fed my golf obsession in the early days, because he just needed a buddy to go play golf with. And all of our friends were basically marrying off and having kids. And so they're, basically dying from our golf group. And so he kind of was like, yes, be into golf. So he was one of the Kickstarter guys that bought one.
Oh, nice.
From the early days. And we all kind of stared at this thing like, how, what, who, where did this thing come from? And it took, minutes before all of us were just standing in line waiting to get a shot, or a rematch or whatever it was. And we were all just immediately, you couldn't get me away from that board at that golf trip. We just absolutely fell in love with it.
Story. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, it turns out, like we were talking about before the show started, we crossed paths at the PGA show in 2018. And then you hooked me up last year with my own Chippo board, which was amazing, for my own golf trip that I run now. Yeah. And I was telling you that I left it in Arizona with my dad, who couldn't be happier that I left it back in Arizona. But I assumed I would go back, in 2020 and take it back home with me. But he is benefiting from the lack of travel these days. So he's got it. He has it permanently set up in his backyard in his little golf setup. And I'm happy for him, although I could really use it right now just to kind of have fun with, in the house a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it would look good in that little man cave that you got set up there with your guitars. And, so maybe we'll have to send you one, but I'm sure your dad's short game's getting pretty good.
Oh, for sure. For sure. He loves the thing. Yeah. I have some, I can practice with my retro set, my vintage set over there. I've got I can just use those while I'm sitting on boring conference calls during the day.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's talk about, and I was kind of refreshing my memory as I knew you were coming on around the Chippo golf kind of origins. And it did start with a Kickstarter. So even before the Kickstarter, let's go back even further. I want to hear the details of how this all came together. I know I think you kind of came up with the idea, and sort of, it kind of went from there. You partnered up with your buddy, Matt, and it just kind of went from there. Right. So was it an aha moment, or was it just something that kind of slowly, evolved?
Well, I think it's probably a combination of both of those things. I come from a big athletic family, very competitive. Every, party that I've ever been to, there's some sort of a backyard game going on. A lot of us are also into golf. And so in college, I was actually introduced. So I guess my story is also one of always being in love with golf, but also always being in love with any sort of stupid game you can get your hand on. I mean, anything could be a game or a competition with a couple of beers. You're always looking for a way, throwing a rock at a tree or whatever.
Right. Do you have brothers and sisters? Because I have two younger brothers, and we would just invent games. Like in the basement, if there was something like you're saying you could throw at something else, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And everybody, and that's a thing that has always been fun since we came out with this. People have just come up to me or emailed us or whatever and told us about some game that they invented 20 years ago, or, I came up with this years ago or whatever. But yeah, and then in college, I fell in love with cornhole. I had never played it prior to going to college, and was introduced to it by some buddies, and, started loving that game, just hanging out in the backyard, having some beers and playing cornhole all day.
Yeah.
So with Chippo, had gone back actually, and I got my MBA, and through that program, I met a lot of really smart entrepreneurs, people who have done cool things, and I always sort of knew that I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, but meeting all those people and hearing their stories, I sort of got bit by that bug, and so um, when that was all done, I was just sort of in my backyard one day. Matt and I had been like talking about doing something. We had some ideas for a business in the sports arena, somewhat golf adjacent. But one day I was just in my backyard after a party. The cornhole boards were set up. I was messing around, with my wedges, hitting them at the cornhole boards. And I just sort of said, wait a second, this could sort of be fun. And so I did a bunch of research. We did all of our, IP stuff. I looked to see if, and I realized pretty quickly that nothing like that had ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
We did a lot of work around, and looking back, like these were some of the most fun times, like sitting in our backyard with plywood and AstroTurf and, nails and hammers from Home Depot, and just trying to figure out like, what sort of turf should we use? What's like the right angle? How many holes should we put in the board?
I wanted to ask about that. Like, did you have different variations and the size of the holes and all? Like, I mean, how many iterations of Chippo did you go through before you landed on the Chippo?
Yeah, we went through probably at least 10
Really?
different like ideas of what should it be made of. Should it be made of wood? Should it be made of plastic? How many holes? How thick should the turf be? What type of balls should we use? Coming up with the idea to include the mats and have them storable in the back was, I think, a big thing, because it really went to the portability of it and the storability of it. And but the main thing that whole time that we were thinking of, that looking back was really smart, was like playability. Like, is this going to be fun? Is it going to be a game? Do the balls like bounce off the board in a cool way? Can you make it spin? Is it challenging enough, but also easy enough where, so so we did a lot of that work, and then decided to launch with a Kickstarter. Like you mentioned in January of 2017. We were trying to raise like $10,000 to get this thing off the ground. We ended up raising $234,000 in 30 days on Kickstarter. Videos. We made a video of ourselves and like our buddies playing on the beach and in parking lots and stuff, and that video was viewed like 12 million times and shared like 100,000 times. We got publicity rather, from Golf Digest and golf.com and like Barstool and all these different amazing publications that, when we sat down and would dream that one day they would write an article about us, and here we are in the first week of making this thing public. So it was a really crazy way to start something off, but fun. And we were like, maybe we're onto something here. And so we've just been sort of running with it ever since.
Yeah. I always like to ask, it's always interesting too, that like the people that I talk to that have these entrepreneurial sort of brains, right? So you set out to do something, and you had, like you said, I'm sure you had multiple ideas or whatever it is, but that's kind of where it starts. And you take something that you also love, like golf and cornhole, and you're like, this is it. I'm just going to make this thing work. Right. It's so fascinating to me. But the question I'd like to ask, people that start these kinds of things up is, and I'm sure it was a quick moment, but was there that, oh my God moment where you guys knew you had something?
Yeah. Well, there's one that I talk about a lot, which is we had made a prototype that we really liked, and it looked a lot like the one that, now. And we brought it to the beach. And this was before we really did anything as far as like filing for patents or trademarks, or before we even had a website. And we brought it to the beach, and we set it up, and we're playing. And we were playing for about 15 minutes. and I'm not exaggerating, but there were 50 people that gathered around.
Yeah.
And it was everyone from, moms to teens to older dads. Like a dad came up to me and was like on his phone, like, what is this name of this and how can I buy this?
Yeah.
And so we realized, we should probably put this away and never let it see the light of day until we're all set to really roll up. People were like, where do you get this? We were like, we were like making up websites. But that was really one moment when, when we first started playing it and we couldn't stop playing was like probably the true moment. But that was the first time we really saw like external validation where other people came up to us, and it was all types of people, which was really cool. And which is something that we found like about this game since we launched it, is that we thought it would be for, college kids ages 18 to 36, whatever, just playing a game, hanging out and having a beer in the backyard or at a tailgate. It's been used by teaching professionals to teach young kids. It's been at like, retirement communities, have them set up for some of the older folks who can't get out and play as much as they want. We've sold a bunch into that area as well. So it's really the whole gamut. And it's been pretty cool to see that.
Yeah. I was going to say the thing that you've sort of done, and I don't know if you knew you were doing it while you're doing it, but this is, it's a game that transcends golf, like straight up. Like you're saying, I've seen people come to it, moth to a flame, right? Just because it looks hard, but still fun. And it's addicting. Like you hit one ball at that board. That's it. That is it. You're done. So I don't know if you guys were like, I think people are going to want to keep doing this over and over. Was that part of the design you were mentioning? Like, even the misses can be fun because you can spin it and almost fall into a hole, but not really. Was that part of it too?
Yeah. We just went about it, just thinking about ourselves as like our end customer, and like kids playing the game. We built it and we had so much fun messing around with it. And I, showed it to my friends and my family, and we had it at, actually thinking about it, like one of my cousins got married and had a bunch of people back at their house after the wedding, folks that were, out of town who were in town. So they came out and hung out, and we had one of the prototypes set up, and we just played all day and all night. And so it's just a game that we knew we liked, and we knew a bunch of other people would like. And then, thinking about the company and the brand and everything else we do, we set out to make this thing, and the brand and the game just sort of reflect what we wanted to put out there in the world. And so we don't take ourselves seriously. It's sort of a fun thing where it's just a game. We're not, curing any diseases here or saving the world, but it's a cool thing that gets people outside, gets people having fun. It's unique and a little bit different. And, if it attracts somebody who otherwise wouldn't have been attracted to the game of golf for whatever reason, there's some barriers to the sport. People perceive it to be, rich, uptight white guys in a country club talking about stocks with their collar, whatever. Chippo is golf, but it's like none of that stuff. So
right.
That's sort of what we've tried to make and create.
Yeah, that was another note I had is just the sort of culture and vibe that the company as a whole sort of just kind of gives off, right? It is an approachable, you have the Chippopotamus or Chippopotamuses, Chippopotami. I don't know. But like, I remember at the show, you guys are giving out koozies and just kind of chilling. I'm like, and you guys were there and it was awesome, I don't know. Cause, to a lot of us, Chippo is this big time company, but there you guys are just kind of chilling and everyone's hitting and getting, just hanging out. And I've always been, I think that's another part of it is that you do give off that sort of everyone's welcome culture. Come give it a shot and just hang out and have a good time, have a beer and just chill. Yeah.
I appreciate that. It's something that we've wanted to create from the beginning. The more people out there who can play your game or be attracted to your company, then that's obviously better. And so that's what we've tried to do. And I think that's why we've had, I mean, if you look at all the growth in golf, a lot of it's off course, and you
Mm-hmm.
can't get more off course than a board with holes in it that you can take anywhere, right? That's
Right.
it's like the whole. And so we sort of had an idea that that was a trend, and that was something that was going on when we started. We never, we're like, let's take advantage of this trend that's happening. We just wanted to make something that was fun to do and that reflected our values and all that stuff. And so, timing was sort of right. And I think that's why, we have an agreement with the PGA Tour. We had that since the beginning. We won that best new product at the PGA
Yeah.
merchandise show, that award in 2018. We've got another really cool partnership that we just signed that can't really talk about yet, but
Okay.
it's going to be fun, and we're really excited about it, and some other things that we're cooking up. So it's been a good run, and yeah, it's just it's been really interesting to see as golf has sort of changed over the last few years, how we've sort of ridden that wave a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had mentioned kind of, you're a laid back dude and you have your values around those kinds of things. So how did, let's talk about how you fell in love with golf in the first place and how you brought sort of that background into Chippo Golf and the culture that is the game.
Yeah. So I was growing up playing golf was always just at the local municipal course. From Long Island, so there was a course called Caniac, which is a 9-hole county course that
Okay.
really nothing special at all, obviously, but we fondly look back on it now and call it Caniac Country Club because it was like our country club. We would go up there, get dropped off in the morning. We'd hit balls on the range. There was a putt, we'd do putt. There was an ice skating rink, we could do ice skating. There was a pool, we could go to the pool, and then we could go play 9 holes.
Man, it's like paradise. How old were you then?
We started going up there, I guess like 5th grade or 6th grade.
Oh man.
Sometimes we'd have probably most of the times at that age, we'd have a parent with us, or one of my friend's grandfather was big into golf, so he would take us. And, we talk about it all the time, just like a Dr. Pepper and a bag of chips at the turn. The turn was between 4 and 5.
That's awesome.
There was nothing like it, and there still is nothing like that, with your buddies playing golf, messing around, no real pressure, nothing like it. So, and then that evolved, and we started playing other sports and getting into golf a little bit more. I never played competitively. I'm still not very good. I don't get out that often, but
yeah.
That turned into, my family has been doing a big, similar to the golf outing that you mentioned. I think you mentioned you get like 50 guys. We get between like 50 and 60 guys every year. We've been doing that since I was able to drink and was invited on these things. My dad's actually the 9th of 10 kids.
Oh, wow.
So we come from a really big family, and all their friends and all my uncles and stuff have been going on a trip for now, I think like 30 years to the same spot.
That's awesome.
So as soon as I was sort of indoctrinated into that world, it was like, there's nothing better than that. You get up there on a Friday morning, you play 36 holes on Friday, you party all night long, you wake up and play 36 on Saturday, and then party all night long again, and get in the car and drive home on Sunday morning. And those trips we look forward to them, every year. And so my sort of love of golf was always much more of a casual, laid back. There's nothing better than going out with some of your closest friends and smashing a ball around on a beautiful day, and with a nice cold beer, if you like to do that sort of thing.
Sure.
So that was always my sort of impression of the sport and how I was brought up in it. I never belonged to a country club. That was never my experience of golf. Maybe that has somewhat had some sort of an impact on this game that we made and this company that we built. But yeah, I guess that's sort of my story.
Yeah. Did your dad, was he the one that introduced you to the game initially?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Okay.
He
Okay.
was. He would take us to, Candiac. We have Bethpage, which is another great course right
Sure.
around us. We have another one called Eisenhower, which is another great municipal. There's a lot of golf on Long Island, and we grew up, playing those municipal tracks. And my dad got into it, I think, a little bit later in life, but was a good athlete. He played football and basketball, and so took up golf when could no longer do those other things.
Right. Right.
And got us into it at a pretty young age, and took, he would take us to the driving range and take us to go play 9 holes, drive around with us in the cart. And yeah, so that was definitely how we kicked it off.
So the kids that you played with, in 5th and 6th grade, are they part of the young group that goes on that trip?
Yeah, some of them definitely
really
are. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's so great.
Yeah, we've stuck together. I'm still pretty close friends with a lot of the guys that I grew up with. So yeah, them, my brothers, some cousins, and some close friends of all of us get together every year and go do that trip.
That's awesome. Where's the annual trip?
It's at a place called the Shawnee Inn and Golf Resort in Poconos, Pennsylvania. Okay. It's 3 9-hole courses. Robert Trent Jones. It's right on the Delaware River. The hotel is, I think, built. I my friends who know the entire history, love this place so much and know the entire history, would do a much better job than I'm doing right now of describing. Like, they could tell you every major event that's ever been played there, and they could tell you the whole history and everything. But it's just a fun place. It's the perfect drive for us. It's like a little bit under 2 hours, and it's far enough away where you can get away, but it's not a crazy trip. And it's just a fun course, and we have a good time.
Yeah.
A lot of time off the course as well. So.
Right. I was going to say, the trip that you described, I just want to I think I did it before in 2019, but you have you and Matt both, and your dad and your uncles probably have an open invitation to our trip to Arizona whenever you want to come, because what you described is exactly what we do. It's a ton of family. It's a lot of friends, and we play a bunch of golf and then, it's all nonsense off the golf course, right? We all hang out and drink and tell stories and argue about stupid stuff. And it's a great time, and we have it's a whole match play thing. So, it's a blast. So you guys would fit right in. You would be celebrities because you're the Chippo guys, man. Well, I don't know about your group, but you'd be a big deal to us.
You got the guitars back there too. A bunch of us play as well, and so we always bring the guitars up there and we jam out the fireplace.
That's the only time I play I play in front of others. I do it once a year, and it's in Arizona for that group.
Really?
That's it. Yep. Otherwise, I'm retired. But yeah, man, fun. That'd be a blast.
But the other thing too, we do have a fun match set up around it. And the highlight of the golf is we do a draft. So for the second round on Saturday, after the first round, we meet up for lunch and we do a draft based on everyone's scores from the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And that's all. The heckling that goes on during that draft is just incredible. Lesser men would be weeping from some of the things that have been said in those draft rooms, but yeah, it's a good time.
That's awesome. So how did you meet Matt? I think he's your brother-in-law now, right? So I'm guessing it was through that kind of thing, like some relationship.
We actually went to high school together. He's a year older than me.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
We knew each other back in high school, but we ended up marrying sisters. So
is that right? Wow.
Yeah, I married my wife, and my wife's sister he ended up marrying. And
wow.
So we're brothers-in-law. I guess that's what you would call us.
Now, does he also is he a golf obsessed crazy like the rest of us, or is he kind of more business side for the company?
He is golf obsessed. He plays probably uh, 10 times more than me.
Really?
Yeah, he gets
Really?
out a lot, and he's always loved it. And he's also big into the backyard games, like cornhole enthusiast, can jam enthusiast.
Yeah.
All the different games that you can play.
Yeah.
He loved all that too. So when I came up with the idea for this, and we were talking about doing something together, entrepreneurial anyway, he was all over it. He actually I think he had like tried in the past to get like a backyard games drop shipping website off the ground,
Mm.
or was thinking about doing that at some point, um, but never ended up doing it. But so when this idea came across, we were like all over it.
That's the other thing. That's funny you bring that up. The other thing that's really cool, and maybe this is part of the why you have the why Chippo has the culture it does, but you didn't do like a drop ship kind of cheap sort of knockoffs kind of thing. Like you guys put the work in to make this. It's on its own, the idea of it is great, but the execution is really what kind of made it what it is, and the quality, like you were saying, putting the mats, including those mats and putting them, in, where you can kind of store them, was brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, but yeah, when we started it, we were like, we can do this anyway, one of two ways, right? We could put a lot of effort into it and make it worth our time,
Mm-hmm.
or we can half-ass it. And if something's worth doing, it's probably worth doing right. And so we spent a lot of time, to make it really playable, to make it high quality enough, but also at a price point that we thought people could afford. Which we're working on getting that down. Always, we want it to be available to more people. Golfers in general tend to be conditioned to spend money on stuff. So the fact that it's $190 for the full game, it's never been that much of a problem. Obviously, we'd love for it to be a little bit less expensive, and we're working on doing that. But yeah, it's always been about making something that we could get behind and that we believed in, and that we thought other people would believe in too. And it's, I don't, again, like not trying to take myself too seriously here, but a lot of time and effort goes into even coming up with things such as so silly as a backyard game like this. And
Yeah.
we wanted to do it right. And so I appreciate you saying all those things.
Were there other names in the running besides Chippo, or was it always Chippo from the get-go?
We have a spreadsheet somewhere that with probably over 100 different names.
Really?
I haven't looked at it in probably 3 years. The last time I did, we had a good laugh over some of the ridiculous names. There was one that we really liked that I won't say what it was, but we really liked it. And then, you start looking for the domain.
I was going to say you start cross-referencing. Sure.
And it came up that it was a porn site. So we're like, all right, we can't use that. We really liked it, but we're not able to use that. That would be pretty confusing for some
no, everyone listening is trying to guess. Like what?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh man, this is fun. I'm so, it's you talk about it being $190, but I mean, part of your challenge, I think, is you buy one of them and you have it. Like my buddy who bought his, whatever it was, 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and we wore that thing out. It's been to every, Michigan trip since. It's still pristine. It's in great shape. I mean, so what ends up happening, I think, is that sometimes people will buy another one because on those trips now, there's whatever, 24 or 48 of us, and one Chippo isn't going to work. That's not going to work.
Yeah, well, we're coming out working on some new stuff that hopefully we'll have out there, maybe this year. But we've come out, we created a carry case for it.
Yeah.
We sell a lot of the replacement balls. The balls we use are great. They're by Almost Golf, which are it was another thing we spent a lot of time like trying to find the perfect ball that felt enough like a regular ball, but wouldn't break a window if you're
Right.
playing at a tailgate party, or if
Sure.
you're playing at a backyard barbecue, if you hit your grandma in the face, it wouldn't break her nose. So like
Right.
those are really good. We sell a bunch of those replacement balls. We've got hats and t-shirts and some other stuff on our website as well. But yeah, working on coming up with the next thing to keep the business moving along. We do a
Yeah.
lot of the big part of our business that's been growing is our customizable Chippo sets.
Ooh.
So the top part where it says Chippo in
Yeah.
our customizable sets, that's blank, and we can decorate that with any design, any logo, anything you want. Really, we've done a lot of work with like Michelob Ultra, a couple other beer companies. Actually, another thing that we're hopefully going to be announcing here soon is a partnership with a beverage company. And so the custom stuff I think is fun. We have the agreement with the PGA Tour, so we do PGA Tour branded Chippo sets, and that we also can. Back before the world shut down, we were doing a lot of PGA Tour events. So, a lot of these events have like a tailgate section now off one of the holes, so it's a perfect fit for those types of things. So that was another great thing that we've been doing. But
yeah, you guys usually do an Augusta thing, right? I remember seeing you guys out there, I think, hanging out, having a party there. Yeah, that's just a match made in heaven. I mean, really. I mean, going on the PGA Tour, just going site to site. I mean, you could just bring a truck full of them, and you'd kill.
Yeah, those events were fun, and it was actually for 2020 one of the things that we wanted to do a lot more of before that all stopped. But yeah, we've done some fun stuff at the Masters. The last thing that we did in I think it was the 2019 Masters, you would have loved. We rented out a brewery, and we had.
Did you really?
Between us, and we had Wilson Golf there and Tax Slayer and the brewery, and we had like I think 6 or 8 Chippo sets set up. We did a big tournament. We had live music.
Do it again in 2022, would you?
Yeah,
I'll reserve that weekend or that week just for that. Like, nope, I don't. Never mind the Masters. I'm just going to be hanging out with you guys for the whole time. That would be awesome. Cool, man. Yeah. So I guess we'll keep an eye out for what you have coming. It sounds like you've got a lot in the works. I mean, did you ever imagine that you would be, partnering with the PGA, partnering with beer companies? I mean, it's got to just be, how many times a year, a day, a month do you just say, I can't believe this is what I do. This is what I've done. Like you invented this thing, this thing.
It's fun. I mean, it's crazy to see something that came out of your brain, winning awards and people all over the place playing it. One quick story that was recently that it was published in some magazine about how this all came out. But when the pandemic started, I started to see some orders come through from this weird town, like a strange number of orders coming through from the same town. And there was I think it's pronounced Hohokus, New Jersey. And eventually I even mentioned it to Matt. I was like, what is this? We don't see every order that comes through, but if you just started to scan and see this weird town name come up a lot. And eventually one of the people who lives in that town emailed us and asking about something. And they mentioned that they started doing a town-wide Chippo tournament just during the pandemic, that it was a way that they could get outside and stay socially distant, and sort of stay sane and get through a really weird time. And so eventually it was, I think 20 of them had sets. They were doing all these big tournaments, 50 people. One of the kids built a giant Lego trophy for Chippo.
No way.
Lego Chippo trophy. And, they said this game, we couldn't get out on the golf course in the beginning, and this game sort of helped us stay sane in a really weird time, which, stuff like that blows your mind.
Yeah.
When you hear like a whole town coming together around a silly game that came out of your head, that sort of stuff is really cool.
That's awesome, man. It's awesome. Congratulations. Well done. I mean, a great idea matched with a well-designed and well-built product. I mean, can't go wrong.
Well, I appreciate it. Congrats to you too on the success of this podcast. Seems like it's taken off.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. It's been, I've said it before. It's been a very, at the end of the day, a selfish endeavor, because I just want to talk to like people that interest me, and hopefully other people listen. They tend to, I guess, which is cool, but really it just comes down to people like you that I just want to pick their brain and hear their stories, and it's fun for me. So, but yeah, thanks. It's been fun. I like it.
Good.
All right. So I'll put all your stuff, the Chippo, I mean, not that people don't already know it, but in case you're looking for it, I'll put it in the notes and all that kind of stuff. Where are you guys you guys are most active probably on Instagram, right?
Yeah. Instagram.
Yeah. So yeah, go bug those guys over there. The other thing too, I'll just say this publicly, despite all of your massive success, every time I've interacted with you, you've been approachable. You've responded. I've been really impressed with, and that's why I wanted to get you on the show, because I mean, I knew that you were like this cool dude. And so just thank you for that. I could see easily just the overwhelming demand and saying like, I don't have time for Chris effing McEwen over here, but you've always been cool, man. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it. You're cool too. And I'm not that cool, for the record.
We didn't realize this would become a big love fest at the end of it, but whatever. All right, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right. Thanks for having me.